The ring lived on a brass carabiner clipped inside a padded keychain pouch. Sera unclipped it on Friday nights before she stepped out. She called it insurance. Theo watched her from the kitchen doorway and did not say anything. He had already said it twice. The third time, he decided, he would not speak, he would listen. Theo kept a banker box of receipts on the shelf above his daughter's art supplies. He labeled the months in pencil so he could erase and resort. On Saturday morning, he added 3 items. A valet stub from a club he had never been to. A coat check ticket with Sera's first name. A gas receipt 20 miles out of the way. Junie drew a picture of their family. 3 stick figures. A man with a triangle tie. A girl with a cloud of hair. A taller stick figure near the edge, half off the page. Junie labeled the taller figure with the name Sera in capital block letters. She used to write Mom. Theo pinned the drawing inside the banker box, not on the fridge. Sera came home at 2 in the morning smelling of Prosecco and clove smoke. She kissed Theo on the forehead and told him a long funny story about Delia losing a shoe. Theo laughed at the right place. He watched her clip the carabiner back onto its hook inside the keychain pouch. He watched her tuck her left thumb into her palm when she said the shoe was green. At the firm, Theo pulled his own deed. He pulled the lease. He pulled the joint checking agreement. He read each one the way he read a client file, top to bottom twice. He noted the signatures. He noted the names. Sera was on none of them. He had never added her. He had meant to. He had not. On Sunday, Sera talked about the wedding. She wanted a small beach ceremony in late September. She wanted her cousin to officiate. She wanted Theo's daughter as the flower girl in something pale blue. She talked about the venue deposit, and the photographer hold, and the hotel block as if he had already agreed. Theo poured her coffee and listened. Junie asked Theo why Sera did not come to her recital. 3 times. Once at breakfast, once in the car, once in the parking lot, looking at the empty seat. Theo said Sera had work. Junie said the liquor store was closed on Sundays. Theo said he was proud of her song. Junie held his hand through the whole drive back. Theo started paying closer attention to the phone. Sera did not hide it. She turned it face down. She swiped away when he walked behind her. She laughed and showed him a meme instead. He stopped asking what she had been looking at. He began, instead, to note the hour each time. He wrote the hours on a small pad in the banker box. The pad filled the first page in 9 days. Delia called on a Tuesday afternoon. She said she needed to see him. She said it was not about Sera. Then she said it was. Then she said please. Theo drove to the bakery below her apartment and sat in his car for 11 minutes before he went upstairs. He counted the minutes on the dashboard clock. He did not count them in his head. He needed them to be real. Delia said it plain. Sera had been running tabs at the Hollis Street Club. Men paid for her dinners. Men sent her PayPal transfers and Venmo notes with smiling emojis. She did not sleep with them. She collected them. Delia said she had been cleaning up Sera's stories for 10 years. She was done cleaning. Delia showed him a screenshot. Sera on the club balcony, arm looped around a man in a gray suit, laughing at his joke. No ring on her left hand. Delia said the quote had spread through their group chat the week before. Sera had written it herself. Theo read it once. He did not ask her to read it twice. The quote read, "He is a safe landing pad for me and the kid he drags around. Let the wedding happen. I cash out after. All legal. All clean." Delia watched Theo read it. Theo folded his hands. He said thank you. He said nothing else. He did not crumple. He did not curse. He stood up, walked to the sink, rinsed Delia's empty mug, set it upside down on the drying rack, and drove home. On the drive home, Theo made a list in his head, not of accusations, of steps. Update the guardianship paperwork. Verify the deed. Pull the carve-out clause for prenuptials in this state. Reroute the automatic deposit. Tell the firm he would need Friday afternoons for a month. He did not cry. He did not speed. He drove the limit. He called his old mentor at the firm from the driveway. He said he needed a lawyer for a specific kind of quiet. The mentor said he knew one. Theo walked inside, made Junie grilled cheese, read her 2 chapters of the book she had picked, and tucked her in. Then he went to the row house study and began the paperwork at 10 at night. By Thursday, he had done 4 things. He had moved his paycheck to an account Sera did not touch. He had updated the guardianship filing to remove a conditional clause. He had signed a 6-month option on a townhouse on Magnolia Row in his name only. He had canceled the wedding venue deposit using the clause the planner had written for him in March. Sera noticed the first small thing on a Wednesday. Her card declined at a boutique. She laughed with the cashier. She tried another. It went through. She texted Theo. He said the bank had flagged some unusual activity, nothing to worry about. He said he was on it. She sent back 3 hearts. He did not send any back. She watched the typing dots appear once and disappear. At the club on Friday, a regular she called Marcus paid for her drinks, and her friends' drinks, and her Uber home. She posted a story of the bill with a grateful gif. A mutual follower screenshotted it to Marcus's wife. The wife had already been waiting 6 months for a piece of evidence like that. She unfollowed Sera at 7 the next morning. She did not send a message. She did not need to. Sera came home Saturday night, and the keychain pouch was not in the bowl by the door. She looked in her purse. She looked in the coat pocket. She texted Theo. He said he had not seen it. He had moved the ring to a fireproof envelope in the locked file cabinet that morning. She spent 40 minutes looking. He watched a movie with Junie. On Monday, the deposit that had fed Sera's accessory budget did not arrive. She checked the joint account. The balance had never been what she assumed. She called Theo. She said the bank must have made an error. He said he had moved the direct deposit. He did not say why. She laughed and asked him to fix it. He said he would call her back. He did not call her back. Delia stopped answering. Her read receipts turned on and then stayed on for days. Sera left a voice memo full of laughing, like they were fine. She sent a follow-up with a joke about Marcus. She sent a third message with a single heart. Delia listened to the first 8 seconds of the memo. She did not reply. She deleted the thread. Sera tried the group chat. 6 friends. She wrote a long message and deleted it. She wrote a short one and sent that. 4 did not reply. 1 sent a polite emoji. 1, the one who had screenshotted Marcus's tab, left the group. The group name changed that night to something she was not in. Sera watched it happen in real time. She did not screenshot it. She did not need to. Theo took Junie to the Magnolia townhouse on Saturday. They walked through the empty rooms. Junie chose the small bedroom for hers because of the window seat. She asked if the dogwood stump in the yard could be her reading spot. Theo said yes. He signed the 1-year lease that afternoon while she drew the floor plan on the back of the receipt. Sera came home that Saturday to find a printed form on the counter. It was a change of address notice for the magazines and the Amazon account. She did not read past the new street name. She read the new street name twice. She Googled it. She sat on the kitchen stool and did not move for 9 minutes. She tried the club on Wednesday. A new bouncer did not know her by first name. The coat check girl who used to wink said her tab from 3 weeks back had never been reconciled. Marcus was not there. A different regular saw her and chose a different part of the room. She left in an hour. She had not paid for anything, but she had not been paid for anything either. At home, she opened the fridge. 3 condiment bottles and a sleeve of crackers. Theo had stopped doing the grocery run for her list on Sunday. She had always assumed he was doing it for both of them. He had been doing it for Junie. She closed the fridge. She opened it again. She closed it a second time. Nothing new appeared inside. On Thursday morning, a letter arrived for her at the house. Her name, his address. The return was a collections firm in Wilmington. It was for a card she had opened in her name alone 2 years back. She had been covering the minimum with money from tabs. There had not been a tab in 3 weeks. She tried to get another regular to cover a lunch on Friday. She dressed twice before she left. She texted a man named Rex. He replied at 11. He said his wife did not like it when he had work lunches. Sera read the word wife and did not reply. She sat at the cafe by herself and ordered water with lemon. Theo and Junie ate at the diner on Magnolia Row. Junie ordered a grilled cheese and tomato soup. Theo asked for black coffee. A waitress who had served them twice already called Junie by her name. Junie asked her to remember that she liked her crusts on. The waitress wrote it on a sticky note and taped it to the register. Theo paid in cash and tipped well. On Saturday, Theo ran into Amaro Lentz at the hardware store. Amaro was buying drawer slides for a chair he was building. They talked about the townhouse. Theo mentioned he was moving with Junie. Amaro said good. He said it once and without flourish. He asked when. Theo said next Saturday. Amaro offered his truck. Theo thanked him and accepted. Sera tried to apologize without apologizing. She came home Friday with a bottle of wine and a dessert from the place Theo liked. She said she had been stressed. She said work had been hard. She said she knew she had been distant. She asked him what he was thinking. She did not ask him what she had done. He said he was going to bed. On the second Tuesday, Sera found an eviction notice in her name on the townhouse door. She had not signed a lease there. She had assumed, when she saw the paperwork on the kitchen island, that her name would be added. It had not. The notice was addressed to any unauthorized occupant. She stood on the porch in heels she had worn to lunch. She did not have a key. She called Theo from the porch. He picked up on the third ring. He said he was sorry. The paperwork listed only him and Junie. He said she was free to stay at the old house through the end of the lease. He said the key in her pocket opened that one. He said goodnight. She drove to Delia's apartment above the bakery. She knocked. She waited. She knocked again. A light in the window turned off. Sera sat on the stoop for 9 minutes in the dark. The bakery smell under her was warm rye. She did not cry. She did not call anyone else. She got back in the car. The Hollis Street Club posted a new policy. Starting that Friday, they required valid ID at the door. They flagged a short list of regulars to bar staff as no comps, no tabs, no covers. Sera's first name with her last initial was on it. The manager did not send her a note. He just added her. She found out when she tried to walk in and was asked to pay cover for the first time in 2 years. She went home to the old house. The fridge still had 3 condiment bottles and a sleeve of crackers. She had not refilled it because she had been eating at bars. She poured a glass from the gesture wine Theo had left unopened. She drank half and forgot to finish. The glass sat on the counter until morning. A fruit fly circled it at sunrise. She watched the fly for a long minute. She did not swat it. She did not wash the glass either. Theo and Junie moved into the Magnolia townhouse on a Saturday. Amaro brought his truck. They made 2 trips. Junie carried her crayon box herself. She set it on the window seat first, before anything else. She said this room was already hers because the stump was hers. Theo set her bed against the wall by the window. The last thing he unpacked was a small framed photo of Junie on her 3rd birthday. The mirror in the old house hallway showed Sera a face she had not expected. She stopped in front of it on Monday morning. She did not recognize the tilt of her own mouth. She tucked her left thumb into her palm out of habit and noticed. She released the thumb. She did it again. She released it again. On Wednesday, the landlord of the old house called. He said the leaseholder had given notice. He said she had 2 months to find housing. He said the cleaning fee would come out of the deposit in the leaseholder's name. She asked who the leaseholder was. He said Theo Marwood. She already knew. She sat on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes with the tile cold through her skirt. She did not cry. She tried and could not. She tried to borrow money from her sister. Her sister said no. Her sister said she had been waiting for this call for years. Her sister said she loved her. Her sister hung up first. Sera put the phone face down on the kitchen counter and watched it for an hour. It did not ring back. Theo and Junie painted the townhouse small bedroom on Sunday. Junie chose a very pale green she called Spring Branch. They put down drop cloths. She rolled the bottom of the wall, he rolled the top. Amaro came by with sandwiches. They ate on the floor. Junie laughed with her whole body at something Amaro said about a chair leg. Theo caught himself laughing too. Sera walked into a bar she had not been to in 6 months. She tried what had worked before. She smiled. She made eye contact. She laughed at 2 jokes she did not hear. The man she picked left after 1 drink. The second man did not come back from the bathroom. The third did not look up when she sat down. On Thursday, her bank balance dropped below the minimum. The monthly maintenance fee hit. She tried to transfer from savings. Savings had been empty for 6 weeks. She had known. She had not added it up. She opened the transaction history and scrolled. She scrolled back 3 months. She stopped at a charge for a hotel she remembered by the view. Theo picked Junie up from a Saturday art class. The teacher stopped him at the door. She said Junie had made a card. She said it was for Sera. She said she wanted him to know, because Junie had labeled the envelope returned to sender before she had even finished writing. Theo said thank you. He put the envelope in the banker box when he got home. Sera sat down at the kitchen island on a Sunday morning and wrote him a letter. 3 pages. She rewrote the first page twice. She used the word sorry 6 times. She used the word misunderstanding twice. She did not use the word Marcus once. She folded it into a cream envelope and walked it to his new address and left it in the porch mailbox before he was awake. Theo found the envelope at 6 the next morning when he went out with the coffee mug to the porch. He recognized the handwriting. He did not open it. He brought it inside, slid it into the banker box under a Wednesday divider, and went back to his coffee. Junie sat at the table drawing. He did not tell her it had arrived. On Monday, Sera waited by her phone. She checked it on the hour. At noon, at 2, at 4, at 6, at 9, at midnight. She plugged it in at 2 in the morning and finally slept. In her dream, someone was saying her name from far away. When she woke, the screen was still dark. She turned it over twice to make sure it was on. It was on. It was just quiet. Delia stopped by Theo's townhouse on a Wednesday with a box of pastries from the bakery below her apartment. She handed it to Junie, not him. She said she had been meaning to. She said she was sorry for 10 years of silence. She did not ask for anything. Theo thanked her and invited her in for coffee. She said next time. She meant it. Sera sent a second letter. This one she slipped under his car's wiper in the grocery store parking lot. He saw her do it in the rear view. He did not turn around. He waited until she had walked back to her own car. He drove home. He placed the second envelope into the banker box next to the first, unopened. Junie asked Theo on Wednesday if Sera was ever coming to the new house. Theo said no. He said it once, kindly, without extra words. Junie asked if they would see her again. Theo said maybe on the street someday. Junie nodded and went back to her crayon notebook. She drew the dogwood stump with 2 small chairs beside it. She did not ask again. Sera knocked on the townhouse door on a Friday night. She had driven there twice already and turned around. The 3rd time she stayed. She knocked 3 times. She saw a shadow move behind the curtain. The porch light stayed on. No one opened the door. She stood there for 9 minutes. Then she walked back to her car and sat in the driver's seat without starting it. Inside the townhouse, Theo stood at the curtain and watched her go. Junie was asleep in her pale green room. He did not pick up the phone. He did not text. He did not check the banker box again. He walked into the kitchen, made himself a glass of water, drank it slowly, and went to bed. On Saturday, Theo made pancakes. Junie set the table with 3 plates out of habit. She looked at the 3rd plate. She put it back in the cabinet without saying anything. They ate together, just the 2 of them. He cut the strawberries. She poured the syrup. The morning light fell in from the bay window across the floor. Sera lost her job at the liquor distributor on Monday. An audit had found 3 invoices she had padded for client dinners that had been in fact tabs at a club. She was told not to contact the clients directly. She was walked to the elevator. She was given a small cardboard box. Her name on the plate outside her office had already been removed by lunch. Theo took Junie to the Magnolia Street Farmers Market. She chose 3 peaches. She chose a small bouquet of cosmos for her windowsill. She chose a loaf of seeded bread. She negotiated with the cheese vendor like she had been doing it her whole life. Amaro ran into them near the fish stall. He had his own kid with him now. They walked together to the lemonade stand. Sera drove to Delia's apartment above the bakery on Monday evening. The light in the window was off when she pulled up. She waited 20 minutes. The light did not come on. She wrote a text. She deleted the text. She wrote another. She deleted that one. She wrote a 3rd that only said, "Your cousin is sorry." She deleted that one too. She drove home without knocking. A 3rd letter arrived for Theo at the townhouse. This one came certified, which meant he had to sign. He signed. He did not open it. He placed it in the banker box in a new divider labeled simply R. Junie asked what R stood for. He said it was work. She accepted the answer and drew a picture of a dogwood. Sera sold the handbag in November. She drove to a consignment store in a strip mall off the highway. The buyer looked at her keychain pouch and asked if that came with. Sera said no. The buyer said the bag was worth less than she had hoped. Sera took the offer. She walked out with an envelope of cash and the carabiner still on her hip. Theo closed the wedding venue refund check at his desk on Tuesday. The clause the planner had written had returned 60% of the deposit. He deposited the check into Junie's education savings account the same afternoon. He did not tell anyone. He did not feel triumphant. He felt tired and calm. The receipt went into the banker box under the Tuesday divider. Sera stopped wearing her fake smile in mirrors. She caught herself, on a Thursday morning, looking at her face as it was when no one was watching. She did not like the mouth. She practiced a softer one. It did not stick. She wiped off the lipstick she had just applied. She put on none and left the house with bare lips. She tried one last reach. She called Theo from a block number on a Sunday evening. He picked up because of Junie's school schedule. He said hello. He waited 2 seconds. She said his name. He said nothing. She said please. He said she had the wrong number. He hung up and set the phone down, screen down, on the kitchen counter. Sera put the phone down and sat in the parked car for an hour. It started to rain. The wipers were not on. The windows fogged slowly. She did not start the car. She did not wipe the glass. A delivery driver tapped the window to ask if she was okay. She nodded. He walked on. She turned the key finally and drove home to an apartment she would not afford the next month. At Theo's townhouse on Sunday night, Junie built a pillow fort in the living room. She invited Theo into it with a handwritten ticket. The ticket cost 1 kiss on the top of her head. He paid in full. They read under the string lights she had taped to the ceiling of the fort. She fell asleep against his arm. He carried her to her pale green room. Sera moved out of the old house before the lease ended. She took what fit in her car. She left the keychain pouch on the kitchen island because the ring was not in it anymore. A note in her own handwriting under the pouch read, "Return to Theo." She could not bring herself to say it to his face. She pulled the door closed behind her at noon. Theo stopped by the old house a week later to hand in his keys to the landlord. He saw the pouch on the counter. He saw the note. He slipped the ring from the pouch into a small velvet bag. He put the pouch in a box labeled "Donate." He put the note in the banker box under the R divider, unopened. He drove home to the townhouse. Junie was at the window seat reading aloud to herself. The light outside was the long, late afternoon kind that paints everything honey. He stood in the doorway and watched her for a moment. Then he set the velvet bag in the top drawer of his filing cabinet, closed it, and went to make dinner. On Friday, Amaro invited Theo and Junie to his place for dinner. His partner had made a slow roasted chicken. Amaro read the weather report from his phone at the table, the way he did. Junie laughed. She said her dad did the same thing now. Theo had not realized he had started doing it. He laughed too. He ate seconds. Sera moved into a studio across town in February. She paid the deposit with the handbag money and $200 from an aunt. She ate dinner from a pot on a hot plate. She did not go to Hollis Street. She did not go to the old bar. She kept her phone face up on the counter because it did not ring either way. She deleted the contacts she had ranked by tab size. She did not delete Theo's. Theo closed the banker box for good on a Saturday. He did not burn it. He did not throw it out. He taped the lid shut, labeled it closed, and slid it onto the top shelf of the filing cabinet behind the Christmas lights. He wrote the date on the side in pencil. Junie came in with a peach and asked what he was doing. He said, putting some work away. Delia began visiting Theo and Junie on Sundays for coffee. She brought pastries from the bakery below her. Junie began asking for her by name the night before each visit. Delia taught her how to make a proper tea, slow, the water just off boil. She never mentioned Sera. Theo never mentioned Sera. Delia's gold cross caught the light each time she leaned over to pour. On a Saturday in spring, Theo took Junie Amaro and Amaro's family to a small lake an hour north. Junie learned to skip a stone on the fourth try. Theo sat on a blanket with a paper cup of coffee and watched her. Amaro sat beside him. Neither of them said much. The sun was warm. The water was cold. Junie laughed when she got a stone to skip 3 times. They drove home that evening with the windows down for the first few miles. Junie fell asleep in the back seat with her head against the door. Amaro waved from his truck at the turnoff. Theo took the exit for Magnolia Row. The streetlights came on in order as he drove under them. He did not check his phone once. At home, he set the velvet bag with the ring inside on the top shelf of the filing cabinet. Behind the sealed box, he closed the drawer. On the kitchen counter, the brass carabiner, now empty, hung from a hook Junie had claimed for her house keys. The ring did not shine under any light. It sat in the dark. Theo turned off the kitchen switch and went upstairs.